Welcome back. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy and the other top congressional leaders will hold their debt ceiling meeting today after the closing bell. 4 p.m. Eastern is when the meeting starts, as the United States could hit its debt limit deadline sooner rather than expected. The Penn-Wharton budget model is now estimating tax receipts are, quote, running $150 billion below government projections for fiscal year 2023, most likely due to the decline in capital gains income and weakening corporate profit margins. Joining me right now is former House Speaker and Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. He is the author of the new book, March to the Majority. Speaker, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here, Newt.
Well, it's good to be with you, and it's a pretty interesting week in terms of the negotiations over the debt ceiling. So, like you, I'm going to be watching carefully.
Now, what a week. We've got the debt ceiling meeting today. You've got tomorrow James Comer with a press conference on potential crimes out of the Biden family. And then, of course, Thursday, Title 42 goes away. I didn't even mention all the economic data coming out this week. But let's start on this meeting. I guess going into it, Kevin McCarthy has a stronger hand because of what Senator Mike Lee told us on Sunday, 43 signatures on a letter saying we will not allow the president to raise the debt ceiling without agreeing to some spending cuts. What are your expectations for this meeting, Newt?
Well, I think Senator Lee is exactly right. When the Senate Republicans decided that having passed the $4.8 trillion spending cut attached to the debt ceiling in the House, that Speaker McCarthy now is essentially the lead negotiator. That is an enormous breakthrough in building a congressional Republican team. And I think that he is grateful to every one of those, including, of course, Senator McConnell, who historically has played a major role in these kind of negotiations and who said publicly, look, this is McCarthy's lead. He's done the big job. Imagine the world we'd be in right now if McCarthy had lost the vote in the House by 1 or 2 votes. Now they'd be a totally different world. But he did win. It is a $4.8 trillion cut in spending. And he's in a pretty strong position to negotiate now and just say, look, as Speaker, he has the power to schedule. And he doesn't have to schedule anything he doesn't agree to. And then Biden's got to face a choice. Is he really going to be the first president ever to deliberately default, or is he going to recognize that under our Constitution, the legislative and executive have to come to an agreement?
Yeah. But, Newt, I mean, some of these things in the House bill that passed seem to be negotiating tactics, like keeping spending capped at 1% for the next 10 years, or, you know, taking the debt ceiling up just until March of next year. March of 24. Who wants to do this again during an election year, right? I mean, some of this was just to get him to the table, you think?
Well, I think, first of all, a 1% increase in discretionary spending coming off a government that is this big, this bloated, and has this much waste is a pretty rational position. As you'll remember, I helped author 4 consecutive balanced budgets for the only time in your lifetime, and we adopted those kind of common sense provisions. I mean, if you look at how much the federal government's grown in the last 3 years, the idea that it can't find savings, it can't live within its means, it can't apply labor-saving devices, I actually think that's a reasonable starting point. I think the date is totally negotiable, and I think you're right. If you're Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer, you don't want to go and do this twice between now and the 24 election. So that may be part of what they negotiate on to get to a yes from the president.
Yeah, all of this in the face of speculation of serious corruption of the Biden family. And we don't know how deep the corruption goes, right, Newt? I mean, you also have, you know, Anthony Blinken got the great job of Secretary of State after running the Penn Biden Center and getting all that money from China. House Foreign Affairs Chairman Michael McCaul is threatening to hold Secretary of State Anthony Blinken in contempt of Congress. He says Blinken has blown past multiple deadlines to provide the documents relating to the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. The State Department yesterday said, quote, it's unfortunate that despite having received a classified briefing on the dissent channel cable, the committee continues to pursue this unnecessary and unproductive action. So, Speaker, they do not want to face questions about anything they're doing.
Well, look, I watched your show the other Sunday when Ron Johnson said, Senator Johnson of Wisconsin, said that Blinken just plain lied to the Senate committee about whether or not he was communicating with Hunter Biden. Just flat out lied, which of course would be a felony if he did it under oath. So, I mean, I think there are a lot of questions for Anthony Blinken. I think that a lot of them are, frankly, a lot more fundamental than the total mess in Afghanistan, as bad as that is. I think his relationship with China, the amount of money he was getting paid, the fact that both the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Delaware refuse to say where the money's coming from or how the money's being spent. I mean, these are things you can't have at a time when there's this sense of deep corruption in the Biden family and their allies. And in that sense, Blinken is part of the Biden extended family.
Yeah, and you know, we're watching all of the evidence that James Comer releases in terms of these bank records. But what should the Republicans do? I mean, let's say you've got serious evidence tomorrow that James Comer releases in that press conference in terms of money taken in from communist China and other countries. He told me on Sunday there were many, many more countries, adversaries that this family has taken in. They created a web of LLCs, so it would be confusing as far as where the money was coming from and where it's going. But at the end of the day, money from the LLCs went to Biden family accounts.
Right. And look, there are a lot of things that can happen. I think there is a point where public pressure will lead the U.S. attorneys to follow the money trail wherever it leads. I mean, remember, the only attorney general to go to jail in American history was John Mitchell, who was Richard Nixon's attorney during Watergate. I think if the current attorney general were to deliberately obstruct justice, he would face the same danger that John Mitchell faced. So there will be a point here where the weight of evidence will be so great that I think they'll almost have to either appoint a special counsel or go straight at and just plain out start indicting people. Not the president, who can't be indicted in office but could be impeached, but everybody around him. And remember, the Congress has the power of the purse. They could, for example, say that no money can be spent on the Secretary of State's office as long as Blinken is there. That's a totally legitimate constitutional position.
I mean, if Joe Biden is impeached, then you've got Kamala Harris, the so-called border czar. All of this in the face of policy that is working against the American people. Title 42 is going to expire in less than 48 hours. The White House is already rejecting the GOP's border bill. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is now sending a special border force to the hot spots where migrants have been illegally crossing. Abbott said that his team is going to focus on identifying crossing points and shutting them down, but the White House is working against him.
Yeah, look, the Biden White House and frankly the Democratic Party favor open borders, no controls, think that the term illegal is inappropriate, and would accept, 20 or 30 million people if they could. For all practical purposes, they have refused to enforce the law. So the fact that Title II is expiring, Title II expired functionally as a practical matter the day Joe Biden was sworn in. They have absolutely refused to enforce the law. They have subjected the American people to millions of people crossing. There was video, I think, yesterday or the day before on Fox, where you saw this long line of mostly young males walking into the U.S. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people out in the open during the daytime, walking down the road. Anybody who tells you that this border is in any way under control has either lost their mind or is lying. This is clearly a policy. It's not an accident. It's not incompetence. They want the maximum number of illegal people in the United States.
How extraordinary. I've never seen anything like this. Speaker, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks very much. Yeah. Check out Newt Gingrich's new book, March to the Majority. We'll see you soon, Newt. Thank you.